Well, my fellow Tenno, I am back from what turned out to be a shorter hiatus from Warframe than I had initially planned. I really didn't expect to come back to the game for at least another month, maybe even two. I was just taking a break, focusing on other work, and really just putting the game aside until I felt I had more time to really dig deep and continue to dive into the cinematic quest and, of course, the rest of the Warframe experience, as I'm still learning about very much of that experience. However, it seems to be slowly becoming a sort of trend, I guess you could say a tradition for me, that Tennocon comes up, and before I know it, I'm back in Warframe like so many of you, I imagine. Tennocon 2018 had an outstanding showing this year, and I'm not just talking about what the DE team showed off for the future of Warframe, but the fact that the Twitch stream alone had over 400,000 people watching it. That's not counting the other partners, the other streamers who were hosting the stream for large numbers themselves, not to mention people perhaps watching it other places on the internet indirectly. It was incredible. The DE team was blown away by it. I think the community was blown away by it. And it's really exciting to see Warframe continuing to grow, continuing to, I think, defy a lot of the norms for video game development, especially when we talk about the mainstream requirements for I don't even want to call it accessibility anymore, because I don't really believe accessibility, the way it should be treated, is the same thing as the way AAA publishers typically treat it. So let's call it ease of access. Let's call it ease of access. We'll do that, right? Warframe constantly kind of blows that concept out of the water and just presents itself as itself and says, hey, you're probably either going to like this or you're not going to like this. Maybe your mind will change a few weeks from now or a few months from now and you'll decide this is a game for you, but this is us. This is me. You want to go on a date? I'll buy you dinner. I like cheesecake. You like cheesecake? Oh, you don't like cheesecake. Okay, well, maybe come back when your taste buds change and you like cheesecake, right? Like, Warframe just kind of accepts that, and it keeps on rocking and rolling, and that's really freaking cool. So yeah, it was I guess it was a good time for me to dive back into Warframe. We'll be covering the game once again every single Wednesday, following my progress. I actually just wrapped up Octavia's Anthem, which was a short quest, but nonetheless a quest that I really enjoyed. So I'm going to talk about that next Wednesday, because I've actually got quite a bit to say about it as it goes for quests that I've now played in the Warframe experience. I'm making my way right now up to Chains of Horror, and then after that I'll be going into, of course, the most recently released quest. But why don't we talk a little bit today about everything that was actually showcased at Tennocon 2018. So obviously Fortuna, which is the Venus Colony open world expansion, as well as Railjack, which is a new multi-crew space combat experience coming to Warframe sometime in the future. Both of these things, as far as I know, don't have exact release dates. I believe they said Fortuna is going to be late 2018. Who knows when Railjack will be implemented. If it's close to being finished, maybe it'll be a part of that, maybe it won't. I don't really want to sit here and just roll through all of the specifics, the details. A lot of you probably already know about the content that's within it. If you aren't aware, I will have a link to the full 30-minute reveal. That's the best way to watch it, in my opinion, where you'll get to see things like the hoverboards, the K-drives as they're called, giant robotic spiders, Nafanyo, The Business, Utico, the Solaris people who are on Venus, and of course Solaris United. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening with Fortuna. All in all, the thing that continues to impress me most is that Warframe is slowly becoming the game I originally wanted to see DE release, and that they originally wanted to release back in the days of Dark Sector. I'm talking about that very first trailer that we saw for Dark Sector, the one that Sinclair and the rest of the team went around trying to pitch to publishers for a year, kept getting turned down, and then finally they turned it in the Dark Sector that actually released, that we came to know, which is nothing at all like the original planned Dark Sector. So it was really exciting after the Railjack demo at Tennocon this year to have Sinclair on stage actually saying just that. This is us pushing towards that original vision, that poster we still have in our office for the space MMO that was going to be Dark Sector. Like, it's just amazing how this thing has come full circle, because I feel rarely does that happen in this industry, rarely does that happen in life in general, right? Like, I can remember distinctly sitting there watching the original Dark Sector reveal and being like, man, I want this and I want this bad. Not really even knowing what it was, but just knowing I wanted it, right? And then Warframe comes out, and you know, I know it's essentially tracing back to those original Dark Sector roots, but it just wasn't what I expected, right? You know, early Warframe was rough around the edges, to say the least. Now just watching the game grow and, you know, getting back into the game around the point of time of Plains of Eidolon, it's still not really pushing in that direction of the original Dark Sector. I think this is the first time where I really feel like the game is going onto new horizons and just getting bigger and better. I mean, it's already been getting bigger and better, but this is, like, I think a huge leap for the team at DE. They seem ecstatic about it, and the community seems ecstatic about it, and I think that's a really fantastic relationship that DE has been able to build with the community. One where they can say, hey, we're doing Railjack, we think you guys are going to like it, and the community's like, bring it on. If we don't like it, we'll tell you, and DE's like, that's cool too. If you don't like it, you know, let us know, and we'll move on to something else. It's a very special piece of game development, and as a player, you get to see not just the game grow, but you get to see DE grow, I think, as a studio. You know, you get to see them improve with their storytelling. And one of the things that really strikes me about the reveal for Tuna is that it just comes across as a better piece of storytelling on the grander scheme of storytelling. So I'm not just talking specifically about cinematic story quests, but just introducing a world and characters and people and unique characters, unique individuals within that world that help bring that world to life. You know, give it meaning, give it purpose, make it feel like a point in time, an actual place that could exist, that does exist in this virtual world that you are now going to engage with. And when we see characters, you know, Nef Anyo coming into the fray, obviously a already established Warframe character, but now in a different role. I think a much more established role as this Corpus Overlord. The Business, who is also tied to one of the new gameplay experiences with Wildlight Capture, but who is also tied to Solaris United, and even Solaris United's leader, Utico. You know, the people of Solaris and their enslavement to the Corpus Overlords here on Venus is all part of this sort of rebellion storyline, right? And I'm really into that. Obviously, it's nothing like super original, like, oh, no one's done this before. But that's not the point, right? Good storytelling still comes across in a powerful way and connects with the individual who experiences it. And I think you already get to see a lot of that with the Fortuna reveal. It gets me excited to get in there, to do some of those bounties, to explore this much larger open world now, and also to get to experience, I think, for the first time, DE actually trying to do like a proper open world. I mean, Plains of Eidolon was obviously a nice step away from what we'd come to love and know, or possibly not love, with traditional Warframe. You know, the procedurally generated corridors of many space stations and even exterior locations that were just not really filled with character or life all of the time. Plains of Eidolon felt like the first time that we got something, right, that could kind of tell its own stories, you know, outside of just feeling like generated levels. But it still wasn't a proper open world. You know, you did everything from Cetus, and then it just kind of spiderwebbed out in, and you always had to come back. So now for the first time with Venus, we're actually going to be able to take down Corpus-controlled locations as members of Solaris United, as this rebellion, and then use those to pick up bounties rather than having to constantly go back to, to our Fortuna, to the Venus colony itself. We can stay out on the frozen Venus wasteland here, which, by the way, Venus, if you don't know, is supposed to be like 900 degrees or something like that. They froze it so it could be habitable, so it's a winter wonderland now, and I just really like that. I like the direction they went with this. Not to mention, of course, we've got the robotic spiders that Nef Anyo deploys, and the giant ones, you know, kind of seeming like they're coming in, you know, taking on the role of sort of the Eidolons from Plains of Eidolon. I'm really stoked about that. So just so many great things happening with these upcoming expansions. But I think the thing that, again, is most important to me as someone just being able to watch this game grow and watch DE expanded, it is that continued push towards that original vision of Dark Sector. Like, that's cool. That's why I like early access games. That's why I like getting involved with early game development, is being able to sit there and say, man, Imagine what this game will be. You know, look at the potential, and then more importantly, having an opportunity to see the devs be able to actually deliver on that potential. I don't really want to say deliver because that acts like there's some sort of an expectation, and I don't think I've ever really had an expectation, but I imagine they have expectations for themselves. You know, I think undoubtedly they do. I know any creator does. I know I do. And I think that, you know, what they're doing right now, that's maybe something that they hoped they could do if they were able to constantly match their own personal expectations, and I guess the expectations of the community as well. And now here they are. That's all come full circle, and I think they very much earned the opportunity to just do what they want to do to make the game they originally envisioned. And that's, I mean, that's why Railjack is really exciting. Not to mention, Railjack is also a bit of a technical marvel. If you don't know how difficult it is to do multi-crew, real-time stuff, especially seamless, when you can transition from the moving spaceship to the outside and it's all in like one sort of instance, it's not easy. Games struggle with it all the time. In fact, it's a big deal when like Sea of Thieves is doing it, and a couple other pirate games that came out that I can't think of the name of right now that were doing it pretty well. You know, it's not easy to have that sort of moving vehicle real-time with players on it. In the case of Railjack, you know, we see AI boarding the ship and the players having to defend them, one player leaving with his Archwing, going and boarding another ship and actually taking it down from the inside. There's just a bunch of cool systems going on with the Railjack. It is a very impressive looking experience from a gameplay standpoint, but also from a technical, everyone's trying to do this and really struggling standpoint. But hey, look, we showed up at Tennocon and this looks pretty damn good. Hopefully you guys like it. It's a pretty big deal. So let me know what you guys thought of the Tennocon. I know most of you are just going to be like, yeah, it was awesome. Can't wait to get my hands on it, but I'd still love to hear your thoughts anyway, and I look forward to seeing you guys next Wednesday to talk about Octavia's Anthem, because that was really just a pleasant surprise of a quest for me. I didn't have like any expectations for that, to just kind of went in, heard a few things about it, and ended up absolutely loving it. So we'll talk more next week. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
You have been brought here for a purpose, the most important task of your lives.